Yes, welcome back. So, like I promised, this side we are going to talk about the methods of data collection, and one of them is observation. What is observation? Observation is simply the data collection method in which the researcher, okay, the person who wants to get the information, uses his or her own senses to collect data. So when you use your own senses to collect data, then you can easily understand the attitude and behavior of those people who you're interested in, or the target audience. Okay. You also need to understand that observation is divided into two. Observation is divided into two. The first one is direct observation, okay, also known as participatory. And we also have indirect observation, which is known as non participatory. If you say participatory, it means being part of something, okay? When you're part of something, then we can easily term it as participatory, meaning you're directly linked to that thing that you're talking about. So, in definition, direct observation, this is whereby the researcher collects the data, him or herself. You're the one who is interested in getting a particular data. For example, you want to know how many prostitutes are in a particular city. Okay? Then you, as the researcher, you decide to go to that city at night, which obviously there's some sex workers who prefer doing it during the day, but mostly usually at night. So when you go to that town or that center or that city at night to know how many sex workers are there and you get that experience, then you're talking about direct observation. Okay? Indirect observation on the other side, it involves the researcher sending his or her research assistants to go and collect data. Okay? So when you send people to go and collect data for you, you're doing what is called indirect observation. Most of the time, the data that you get there is a replica of what those people saw, the people that you sent. It's also important to understand that indirect observation is again divided into two, with the first one being the use of research assistants from the definition. Number two is use of instruments or equipment. There's a time that you might decide not to use a research assistant or people. For example, we have we are actively seeing information on the moon, and a good number of studies usually enable us to say that not human being, uh, but robots are the ones that are in Mars, in the moon, blah blah blah. Okay, so that one is called indirect observation. So when you employ uh, instruments, then we are doing what is called indirect observation. When you send research assistants, you're also doing what is called indirect observation. Is that okay? I believe yes. So, what are some of the tools that are used in indirect observation? What are some of the tools? Number one, we can say cameras. Number two, we can use tape recorders, sound recorders. We can use telescope, etc. These are some of the tools that are used in indirect observation. Now, when you talk about the second type of, when you talk about the second data collection method is interview. Okay, and in interview, it is the interaction between an interviewer and an interviewee. Okay, there are some people, there are two categories of people that are involved. We have the interviewer and the interviewee. So the interviewer is the person who is asking the questions. The interview on the other side is the one who is responding to the questions. In this interview setup, each and every person needs to understand his or her role. If you are the interviewer, you need to understand your role. If you are the interviewee, you also need to understand your role. So, in the interview, there are questions that are being asked and answers are being provided. And the person who is asking the question, like I've said, is the interviewer. And the person who is responding is the interviewee. Having said that, interview is again divided into two subsections. We have face-to-face interview and we also have telephone interview. In definition, when we talk about face-to-face, it simply means the interviewer and the interviewee are in the same room or the same location. Okay? In simple terms, they are seeing each other face to face. Very simple. But on the other side, telephone interview, the interviewer and the interviewee are not in the same location and they communicate using a mobile phone. Some of the common telephone interview usually happens during when there's a distance factor. For example, if you decide to maybe you're running a company and you want to interview the daughter of Obama. Maybe if you want to know one or two, three things about being the daughter of the US former president. Most of the time, you might not get the opportunity to meet her face to face. So you'll opt for a telephone interview. Very simple. Among the face-to-face interview and telephone interview, there are some pros and cons in each one of them, which we'll talk about in the next video. Let's move to the third one, which is called a questionnaire. A questionnaire is a set of printed questions which are sent to the respondents to answer and send back. It is a set of questions which are created, sent to the respondents to answer and then send it back. Remember, a questionnaire is only complete when the respondent has sent it back. Also remember, some respondents can send empty questionnaire back. Okay? So it is only complete when you get them back. And most of the time, you can hardly get 100% response rate from the questionnaires. You can hardly get 100% from the questionnaire. So if you get 90, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, that's good to go. There are some questions that are relevant. I mean, the type of questions in a questionnaire. The type of questions in a questionnaire. There are two. We have the open-ended questions and the closed questions. Very quickly, let's go to open-ended. Open-ended questions, by definition, these are questions that gives the respondent a liberty to give his or her opinion the way he or she wants. It's open. Giving an example, if somebody tells you that the portal is open for application, it means that anybody can do the application. Okay, so when we talk about the questions, if it's open-ended, then somebody can respond the way he or she wants. Okay, closed, on the other side, by definition, these are questions that have restrictions on how to answer. An example of an open-ended question is, where have you been last weekend? If you ask somebody where he or she has been last weekend, and maybe there are 5 respondents, then you're going to get 5 different answers, because they have liberty to explain wherever they were. But on closed, on the other side, there are restrictions, or in other words, there are choices to choose from. Okay, for example, if somebody asks you in a questionnaire, what is your marital status? The first box, single, married, separated, divorced. So you have 4 options to choose from your marital status. Okay, you know, you cannot be single, divorced, married, separated. Logically, it is impossible, but but nowadays it is also possible. We have people who, they are single, they're married, they're separated, they're divorced. They don't even understand where they fall. But when we talk about closed, these are questions that have restrictions. Quickly, let's move to abstraction. Abstraction, on the other side, is a data collection method in which a researcher gets information from already established or already published or written records. Okay, for example, if you find something that was written in 1991, okay, there's a piece of information written in 1991. That one is called an abstraction, because you've already gotten it from already published or other written sources. Okay, so in the next video we will talk about some of the main advantage and main disadvantages of the data collection methods. Thank you so much. Let's see you on the next video.